Well, welcome to Talent Treasures. This is our chance to speak with our Open Gate community about their Clifton Strengths talents. And joining me today is Karisha Stanley. Welcome, Karisha.
Hello, Nancy. Thank you for
Hey.
having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. And you are a business development analyst. And can you say a little bit about that role? What does that involve?
It involves basically getting familiar with the organization and then looking at the market, gathering intelligence, finding out where would be good segments to, bring our product to, what type of services we might want to offer, enhance what we do. I'm in a unique sector, so it's around housing. So it's really about finding those opportunities that supports affordable housing, that supports the programming in our area.
Oh, that's awesome. And it just sounds like a very mission focused business development that you get to do. So a little bit of the best of both worlds, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I mean, I love to get in and research and learn new things about what's going on in the realm of affordable housing, and then how to take that information and turn it into a win or a new service that we can then offer our customers and stakeholders.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and you and I have had the chance to get to know each other over the past year, and you have done the Clifton Strengths, and we've dug into that a little bit over recent months. And so we wanted to explore your talent theme, which is called competition. And so, just to give folks watching a little bit of a background on that, that Clifton Strengths is a tool from the Gallup Corporation that measures all these 34 different talent themes. And so, what bubbled up to the top, we like to look at your top 5 to 10, and competition was number 2 for you.
Mhm.
And just a little description of competition is that there's a need to measure, we like to compare, we like competitors, we like contests. And so I'm curious how that plays out for you in a typical day. How do you notice that particular talent?
Honestly, I would say it shows up just kind of at random. And I admit, when I first got that, I was kind of concerned because I was like, what
Hmm.
does it mean to always be competing? And that sort of sounds exhausting. But it just always means I'm just looking to, I guess I rationalize it. I'm always looking to show up better. So sometimes in my everyday, it might show up in if I'm walking up a hill and I'm on one side of the street and there's someone on the other side of the street, all of a sudden we're in a race to get to the top of the hill. They don't know we're racing, but I know we're racing. So that's how one way I would say that it could show up. In my workspace, it probably shows up with me just wanting to make sure I'm presenting accurate data, wanting to have come up with the best ideas, move things forward, measuring success. So annual reviews, I'm sure those are always fun with me because I'm just like, okay, I was rated this, but if I want to improve, tell me the steps. What are you looking for so I can achieve that next rating? Because essentially I'm in competition with myself. I'm wanting to
Yeah.
continually improve.
Yeah, I get that. And do you notice or do you find that other people notice that tendency in you at all, or do you get any feedback about that?
No, I wouldn't say that anyone really notices that. I would say maybe they do because I've heard adjectives used to describe me like, oh, you're tenacious, assertive, things like those types of adjectives. So I think they layer nicely with competition. Again,
Yes.
it's not necessarily that I need to be the best, but it's really just searching like always for improvements. There's always a better way to show up,
Mhm.
be faster, be more efficient.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you're really good about, and what I noticed when we've talked about this before, is the highlighting kind of how competition shows up a little differently than maybe what we might assume when we hear that word. And a lot of times I think people think of competitions, well, I've got to be number one. And perhaps that's so to a certain extent, but I've heard you also say you want to elevate others. So where do you see that dichotomy between, you know, competition for self, but also competition for bringing others up?
I repeat this saying over and over. A rising tide will lift all boats, and I truly, truly enjoy championing other people, lifting them up, celebrating their experiences. So when I say my competition will show up is I'm going to push because I believe
Hmm.
that you can achieve more. So I'm going to push a little bit more. If I'm in an agency and I know that we can succeed, I'm going to push. I'm going to say let's prove that we have expertise. So I feel like that's where that will show up, but it's me
Mhm.
really supporting them because I believe that they can basically be better.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And so, yeah, it's not all about ourselves. It's about just that desire for better all the time.
Continuous improvement. And I'm finding that there are little pathways, like if there's anyone's familiar with like ISO 9000 standards, where it's
Hmm.
just basically about continuous improvement. That really, I really vibe with that because I do think that competition is about recognizing it's a journey, not a
Yeah.
destination. We're always just looking to improve. So I really flip that and apply that towards the teams that I'm working with. I want to help you succeed. I want the rising tide to lift everyone up.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and so again, our top two, your number one is ah, did I get this right? Achiever, right?
Cheever, yeah.
So achievers, we like to cross the finish line. You will push a task to getting to that end. Does that sound natural
Absolutely.
for you?
Yeah, I'm a pusher. Like I said, I'm definitely a pusher. I think of the Mean Girls Tina Fey's character when she's like, I'm a pusher. But ultimately, again, it's about because we see that we see something in you that you can elevate beyond where you are. And so I want to help you achieve that. I'm going to help you. I want to co-create something with you to help you get to your desired outcome because I believe in you. And when I'm partnered with you, that achiever,
Mhm.
that competition is going to make sure we get across the finish line,
Yeah,
even if
no,
you're on
I
my back.
right, right. Well, and it's so fascinating to me always, Karisha, because people are so complex, right? Our personalities are so complex, and so we're not
Mhm.
reduced to a profile, right? But it gives you
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit of data about how we think, how we're wired to think, and how it can help us with others. How do you think it has impacted others in your world, your
My
competition
competition.
talent?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on how I show up with competition
Mm,
because I know perhaps if I'm feeling maybe some stress, some pressure, that competition shows up story, plot, tell it, go. We need to get
yeah.
it combines with achiever and it kind of takes on this new form. However, if I know that if I have time to sort of do some pacing, I think competition shows up within championing,
Mhm.
advocacy. I think competition shows up with engagement, getting involved, finding out those places and spaces someone's never been before, and then figure out how can I
Mhm.
get there, be that first in that kind of way.
Yeah, I love that. And then how, let's say you're faced with a really difficult problem,
Mhm.
something, oh gosh, I got to solve this for the team. How might your competition go about trying to even tackle something like that?
I think it kind of what I talked to earlier, spoke to earlier, just that I recognize, right? So the desired where we are right now, right? It doesn't feel good. And there is a desired state that I know where success is, where we all want to
Mhm.
find that. So the competitor in me, right, is thinking
Mhm.
about how do we achieve that? How do we work together to align ourselves like, okay, this doesn't feel good. What does the end state look like? And that's sort of what competition is about, right? Whether it's a race, it's a challenge, whatever, you're trying to figure out what is the end game that you want to achieve, what is the goal, and then making moves to work through that. So when I'm getting into the conflict, I really fall back on actually a fuel framework that I learned from
Mhm.
Team Culture Accelerator, where it's about talking about where we are right now, understanding the current climate and where we want to go, and then co-creating action. And the competitor in me is saying we can do better. So we
Mhm.
co-create something to get us to the other side of the challenge.
Oh, that is so fascinating because I think you speak to some of the maybe misconceptions a bit about the competition talent because
Mm.
I think it's easy, especially for folks who maybe aren't high in competition, right? Where you think, oh, a competitor, they always want to be number one, they always want to be win the race, and yet so much of what you said right now, I mean, we can be competitors on a team
Oh
too,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
And
And
honestly,
you
Nancy,
bring
you had to
so much
tell
from
me
that team,
that. Because I
right?
was really taken aback, and you really had to help me redefine competition because I remember us meeting one-on-one and I was kind of alarmed by competition and was kind of
Right.
like, what does that say about me and how I show up for others? And you really helped me redefine that outside of what I might find in the Merriam dictionary.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's why this is just I enjoy the strength so much, right? Because it's such a an interesting way and positive way to look about at our characteristics. And well, and the other maybe thing for folks to understand about the talent themes, Clifton Strengths talent themes, is that they're neutral, right? They're neither good nor bad. So
Mhm.
your competition has obviously served you very well. You've been very successful in your career. I know what you have on your plate, and you're constantly striving, which is very impressive. But our at the same time, our talent themes can maybe get in the way or be a barrier. So it's always
Mm,
important to be mindful of that continuum, right? Like
yeah.
if I have too much of a good thing, right, that it can sometimes get in our way. Have you experienced any ways where maybe competition might have gotten your way?
Oh, absolutely. In my personal life, I'm pretty sure my significant other would say when we're having those passionate verbal back and forth, my want to be right, my want to win that passionate exchange probably shows up then, and they probably wish I would just dial that down a bit. And
Let
you
them
know,
have a whim.
I will self-reflect on that. And sometimes I do have to come back and be like, you know what, that was some of the stuff I said wasn't productive. It was just, I recognize I was just trying to be right. I didn't hear you. I was listening to respond. And sometimes I do. I just have to come back after some moments of self-reflection and say, hey, I showed up poorly and thanks for giving me
Mhm.
another chance to do it again. Show
Totally.
up
And
better, I should say.
right.
Yeah.
And so true, right? It's a lifelong process. I mean, I often tell folks I've been doing this kind of human development work for years, and you'd think I'd be really good at it, but I have days when I'm not my best self either and have to go back to the fundamentals, right, of good listening skills, good communication skills, because we all can fall short in a moment where maybe emotions are high or you
Yeah.
know, we're
Because we're all
not
human.
feeling
We're not
great.
robots.
Exactly, exactly, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I also took away from working with you, Nancy, is to remember that yes, we all live in this world together, but we experience it differently. And I do think that's
Yeah.
important for me to remember as far as like how I show up with my different,
Mhm.
competition, achiever and things like that. I might have the best of intentions, but because of different perspectives and how we've experienced the world, they might land wrong. And I need to self-reflect on that.
Right, right. Well, and what's so interesting too, Karisha, is how maybe if other people understood that about you, maybe those days when you are pushing, they might take it better, right? Or understand better. It's, oh, that's Karisha. I know she's striving. She wants the best for us. And while they may not like it still, they maybe have a better understanding and maybe could manage it better.
Right,
So,
understand the nuances of me, and I think that is
hmm
a really important aspect. And I think to my days in HR, when I would say, let's get to know each other on the various teams, not because we need to be besties, but just so
right.
we understand those nuances. So if every morning someone comes in, they're just quiet and they drink their coffee, it's not because they're mad. That's just their process of getting started through the day. We don't take it personally, but we won't know that about one another if we don't take the time to learn and talk to each other.
That's right. That's right. Well, one of the things I like to do is try to contrast some of the different themes and competition like we've talked about is one that I think is very easily misunderstood because we have our perception of what the word means. And
Mm.
there's another one that's similar which is also I think in your top it's like number 11 I think for your top 10 it's like 8 significance. When others watch me perform, I get better is
Yes.
kind of the significance. But then competition says when I watch others perform, I get better. So when you're observing others,
Oh, yeah.
um, so how does that kind of resonate with you in any
I
way?
absolutely. I'm smiling because this takes, to me, this really speaks to being an athlete at heart, loving
Hmm.
sports and competition. Because I would love when family and friends come and watch me play. And I'm like, oh, okay, now let me get a little fancy with my dribbling on the soccer field because I've got an audience out
Audience.
there. And then I think about, when I see someone doing some other fancy stuff, I'm like, ooh, I got to learn that. I want to be fancy too, so that pushes me to be better. And then even in the workplace, going to different conferences or networking things and you hear a really great idea and you're like, ooh, that's amazing. Now I want
Hmm.
to do that, but I also want to see if I can do that and maybe even enhance it a
A
little
little better. I love it. I
bit.
love it. My one of my themes that's similar to that, where I suppose I can relate to you on that, is maximizer. And
Mm,
so I think it's number 3 or 4 for me. And so maximizer, we're always asking, how can we do it better? How can we? So very similar to competition, but maybe not as much on the measuring side. And so sometimes I worry if I get a little annoying, it's like, oh, hey, we finished this, but hey, how can we do it better?
yeah, but we need that though, because
Mhm.
that speaks to me because I love continuous improvement. So
Mhm.
honestly, Nancy, when I hear that, I hear we would make excellent teammates because we would just
Yes.
layer that on, achieve, maximize, and compete. And
I love it. I love it. Well, and another thing I wanted to call out, which was I was looking at you've got a number of what they call influencing
oh, I
themes in your
know.
top 10. And so I saw competition, activator, significance, command, achiever, all in your top 10 or 15.
Mhm.
And so for folks that don't know, the influencing themes, those are the themes that are grouped together because we like to advocate, we like to speak up. And again, I think influencing is another one that sometimes is misunderstood because there's a key little element in there that says we like to speak up and make sure others are heard. And so tell me how that resonates with you.
I would say that takes me right back to now, but I really felt that in my HR role, which was prior to my BD role, where again, recognizing there's opportunities for improvement, but you can't make those improvements in a silo. So reaching out and like hosting like maybe a seat at the table, we're giving those outside of leadership roles to come together and talk about the things that they're seeing and brainstorm ideas for improvement. So giving them a voice, letting them know their ideas have value. I love doing stuff like that. I love, when it's time to give away awards, just really giving them away and hyping up the people who sometimes just don't get that recognition. Or if I
Hmm.
hear a great idea and I know someone else has said it, but the person where it originated isn't giving an idea, just be like, oh, I love that. I'd love to hear from, so and so, giving them the opportunity to shine in the
Hmm.
spotlight because that's where
Hmm.
it started from. I gain a lot of energy from that. I'm getting excited
Yeah.
talking about it.
Well, and that is one of the things I think since I've gotten to know you that has really stood out for me is just your contagious energy and enthusiasm. And it really is contagious because I think other people do get that energy from you. That's my take. And yeah, it has to be a lot of those influencing themes that you've got kind of a little superpower in there with all of those.
I don't know, that's what people that's what I've heard before. And honestly, I think it's great that people see that in me, but I just do, Nancy.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's not something that I'm like, oh, you know what I need to do today, or I'm going to really focus on this. It's just something that I naturally love to do. I
Yeah.
don't want people ever to feel like unseen, unheard, and
Mhm.
unvalued. I know that that's a crummy feeling, so I
Mhm.
just try to do my part to show up in a way so they know I value them, I see them, and
Yeah.
yeah, they have a voice in my space.
Yeah, I love it. And so, thinking about again how all of this applies in the workplace, one question I like to ask is like, what would you need from a manager to satisfy that competition? How could a manager best help you and support you?
Clear metrics, give me, data. I love using data to support things in the BD realm, business development,
Hmm.
evidence and proof points. So if you are looking to support me, yeah, give me some metrics, give me a path forward, show me the way that I can keep improving. It's not enough just to say you're doing a great job or, try harder. Like I like some concrete things, like, this time you got an 88%, but if you were to study this section next time, you might be able to get that to a 90, that type,
Hmm.
some clear, concrete directions and metrics. I love that and thrive
Yeah,
off that.
there, there we go. And so, as we wrap up, what might be some words of encouragement to other people with the competition theme who might be watching this at some point?
I would say the competition is not just about winning or self. It's about you always being able to recognize there is a better way to do that, more efficiency. So whether you're saying it's being faster, an enhancer on a picture, and things like that, competition is just your way of saying we can show up better, and let's find a way to do that. So own that. It's your light, it's your guiding light, and it's cool to have. I'm right there with you. Boom.
Awesome. Boom. Yeah. Thank you, Karisha. This was lovely and appreciate you making time for us today.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.